Are you looking for the best dovetail jigs in your budget? Well, in today's video we break down the top 5 best dovetail jigs that are available on the market.
I made this list based on their price, quality, durability and more. To find out more information about this product, you can check out the description below. And also make sure you subscribe for more reviews. Okay, so let's get started with the video.
At number 5, PorterCable 4216. Users rave about this capable and burly dovetail jig from PorterCable, which offers versatile functionality for a wide variety of jigs at an extremely impressive price point. The jig is 12 inches wide, which users found to be the right width for the majority of woodworking projects. In addition, it boasts one of the widest thickness ranges of any jig we reviewed, second only to the model from Leigh. The vise on the wood is extremely strong once engaged, thanks in part to the sandpaper-backed locking bars on the body of the jig. The jig is made entirely from machined steel with several durable plastic knobs, while the templates are machined from aluminum. This jig comes with 3 useful templates, including those for making half-blind, sliding, and through dovetails, as well as a third template for making miniature half-blind and through dovetails. The jig also comes with 4 router bits of different depths, which users appreciated, since it makes it simple to gauge the depth of the cut without having to make laborious measurements. Users also appreciated how fast and easy it was to get started using this jig. The jig comes entirely pre-assembled and can be clamped or bolted directly to a workbench. The manual is also well written and provides clear instructions for beginners and seasoned woodworkers alike to make a variety of dovetail joints with this jig. At number 4, Leigh D4R-PRO. This dovetail jig from vaunted hardware company Leigh comes in at a sky-high price, but users are quick to point out that it is easily one of the most versatile and well-constructed jigs on the market. Among jigs we reviewed, this model stands out for its large size. The jig is able to accommodate stocks up to 24 inches, which makes a huge difference for contractors and woodworkers who have large furniture projects in mind for the future. The jig also accepts wood pieces up to relatively large thicknesses of up to 1 1/4 of an inch. Users love how easy and intuitive it is to use this jig. The cam action clamps make it straightforward to apply the right amount of pressure to your wood before making cuts. The clamps are easy to adjust, or can even be used at a consistent tension across wood pieces if you need to get your cuts exactly right. The aluminum base is made from a single machined piece of metal, so there are fewer parts to break or warp over the life of the jig. Users report that the jig can produce double-blind dovetails that are nearly indistinguishable from handmade joints in a matter of minutes, with very little fuss. The jig also comes with a wide array of accessories for making nearly every type of dovetail joint. At number 3, Woodhaven 7660. This dovetail jig is designed for the woodworker who is fully committed to half-blind dovetail joints and wants them to be as precise as possible. Rather than use interchangeable templates, the guide on this jig is constructed right into the steel base. This design improves the overall durability of the jig and makes it quite small compared to other jigs. It's just 16 by 6 inches, so you can easily hide it in your workshop when you don't need a jig set up. However, the design does limit versatility for those who want the ability to make through dovetails or double-blind joints. It also limits the thickness of stock that the jig can accept. It is limited to a range from 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. In addition, the jig has a minimum width of 6 inches and a maximum of 11 to 3/4 of an inch. All that in mind, you need to be sure of what you'll be using this jig for before purchasing it. Users did appreciate that this jig requires very little setup or fine-tuning out of the box to begin cutting precise dovetails. The clamps are easy to adjust, although some users did wish for the simple clamp lever found on larger jigs that makes it easier to exert pressure on the wood. However, the sliding clamp pads are useful when working with wood pieces of varying sizes since it allows customization of where the pressure is applied. At number 2, KELLER Dovetail System 135-1500 Journeyman. This extremely inexpensive dovetail jig from KELLER is about as simple as dovetail jigs come. Compared to other jigs we reviewed, this one is essentially just a template for your router with little other frame around it. That means you'll need a set of sturdy clamps to secure it to a workbench when using it, but with the right equipment you can get it relatively stable. The advantage to this design is that the jig is not limited to a set width, even though the jig itself is only 15 inches in length. Instead, the jig can be moved down the length of any piece of wood, cutting additional pins as you go. The thickness is not as customizable, on the other hand, and is limited from 3/8 inch to 3/4 inch pins. This design is also highly durable, since there are almost no parts to warp or break, and the comb is made from a laminate rather than a metal that could be easily damaged by your router. Users loved the documentation on this dovetail jig, which is especially helpful given its different design compared to typical jigs. However, they note that you will need to cut your own wooden block to hold the jig in place and to sit under the piece of wood you are cutting for stability. The jig is not designed for high-throughput workshops or the extreme precision of a jig like the one from Leigh, but beginning woodworkers and hobbyists rave about how easy this jig makes it to get started with dovetail joints. At number 1, Rockwell Complete Dovetail Jig. This modestly priced dovetail jig from Rockwell is perfect for small shops looking for a relatively straightforward jig for occasional projects. The jig is large enough to fit wood pieces up to 11 inches in width, but is relatively limited in the depth of cuts it can make from 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch thickness. While the jig is not as stable or precise as the similarly sized PorterCable jig, what sets it apart for users is the unique dust collection system. Rockwell developed a vacuum attachment, which comes with the jig, that fits onto the base of the template to allow you to quickly suck up dust produced by the router bit before it spreads all over the shop. Few other dovetail jigs have any mechanism for cleaning up dust, so this can be a major advantage in a small shop. On the other hand, users needing precision had a major problem with the design of this dovetail jig. The depth stop bar, which controls how far into the wood the router bit will drill the dovetail pins, has to be moved out of the way each time you want to cut a new piece of wood. That means the depth has to be manually adjusted for each cut, which can dramatically limit the accuracy of dovetail joints on matching pieces of wood. In addition, users found the instructions on this jig somewhat hard to follow, and many have resorted to following instructions on setup posted by other users.
Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video. If this video was helpful to you, please make sure to like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe.